The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Don't watch this. Don't listen to this, okay? Go outside and spend some time with your family, okay? I know you're a Canucks fan, but you're better than this. Let's recap the last 8 to 10 months of our lives. What happened?
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, I know times might be tough in Vancouver, but it's Friday and it's sunny. Happy Friday, and thanks for tuning in to this episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks, because, of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Kyle Bowen. I got him to come out of hiding, back for at least one more episode here on Locked On Canucks to recap what was arguably the craziest season in Canucks history. Dare I say, a Messier-esque season for your Vancouver Canucks, because shit was messy this year in Vancouver. We've had the post-mortem recap from the players and the head coach, not Patrick Allvin and Jim Rutherford yet, but let's get into our thoughts from the final postseason presser. More importantly, our thoughts on this wild season as a whole. And specifically, we want to get into the crazy timeline for the Canucks in 2024-25 to help break it all down. But helping break it all down, man, oh man, my day just got better because I'm looking at my co-host, Kyle Bowen. What's going on, brother?
Yep, I'm back for one more episode, okay? More on that by the time this episode ends. And it's going to be a long one. This one's going to be a crazy episode. We might be here for 55 to 60 minutes. And I want to read all the comments. I want to mourn with you. I don't want to spend time with my girl. I don't want to spend time with my family. I don't want to spend time with my friends. I want to spend my time just getting through this because I've had a rough last 3 weeks. Before I left, what did I say, Trevor? I said, you know what? I've been to the bar 15 of the last 20 days. I've had 1 to 2 beers a day. I got to stop. But I was watching, meaningful games in March at the bar. It felt good. I was like living like I was 20 again. Oh yeah, last time I checked, the Canucks never made the playoffs in my 20s. So forgive me. All that being said, 2.5 weeks ago, after the Winnipeg Jets games, when it was mathematically sort of kind of not really proven that we weren't going to make the playoffs, I made the decision to leave Trevor alone. Had to do it. I haven't been here for a while. I also have to negotiate a new contract. What? Maybe. Who knows? Probably not. Because today's my last episode. What? Anyways, I had to leave Trevor most importantly because Trevor also started balding. And I've been preaching the whole balding thing for the last 10 months. This team stressed me out. I lost more hair than ever. Look, maybe I'm bald underneath this hoodie. Maybe that's where I have to go. Maybe I went to Turkey. All that being said, when I found out that Trevor started balding, I knew that I was the problem. Not just the team, but my negative energy, my toxicity. I couldn't give you 2.5 more weeks of that before it was all said and done. And Trevor, I'm sorry, man.
Well, Kyle, you left the show 3 weeks ago with the Canucks playoff hopes fading. And, of course, they end up missing the playoffs in what has to be one of the most disappointing seasons in franchise history. And, Kyle, I kind of want to get to the timeline first and foremost because this season, there were some cracks at the very beginning of it, obviously, right? We get into training camp, boom. Dr. Demko's got a popliteus injury. He's out. Dakota Joshua, testicular cancer. He's out. And then early on in the season, you start hearing about the rumblings of Petey, obviously, who wasn't playing at his previous level from early in the Rick Tocchet era. And, of course, JT Miller gets into it with him in practice. So really, Kyle, this season, it seemed doomed from the start, even though we were hopeful. The Canucks were something like 7-2-1 in their first 10 games. Like, it wasn't a terrible start for this team. But very quickly, there were some rotten spots starting to show on this team, man. This team was a banana. It was turning brown quick.
Oh, what? Okay, it wasn't turning brown. It was turning moldy because, Trevor, there's nothing wrong with the dark banana, okay? It's sweeter. It's sweeter that way. Come on, Trevor. It's 2025, all right? It's 2025, all right? That banana was stepped on. And I don't know if the Canucks went 7-2-1. Maybe they went like 6-3-1. Who knows? But there was a 20-game stretch where the Canucks, again, comfortably in a playoff spot, but looking so bad, looking out of it. And we kept saying it. We did the data and the math. We went through the schedule. We're like, okay, the Canucks have played 20 games, but in my opinion, they've actually been a good team for like 6 periods, 7 periods of hockey. Like they were just being led by Kevin Lankinen and Quinn Hughes. And You're right, Trevor. Like from the start, the very start, from Vincent Desharnais to Ian Clark in the offseason, like there's just like a lot of noise around this team. And even the winning couldn't fix anything. And like we've just alluded to twice, a pretty good start in the standings, but that couldn't help Miller and Pettesson. And that's the biggest reason why the Canucks are not in the playoffs. Like you can point at the injuries, but like Captain Quinn Hughes said, those are excuses. They are. Because we all live the same life. We all play the same games, okay? A lot of other injuries surrounding a lot of other teams who happen to play in the playoffs. Trevor, last time I checked, 29 teams make the playoffs, a.k.a. 16 teams make the playoffs. A lot of teams do. Bare minimum, this team, this city deserves that time in and time out. And we didn't get that. So again, you can't blame the injuries, but you can blame what really, really did happen. And that was, dude, what's the right word? If I'm not using the word cancer, well, what's the word that describes what Pettesson and Miller did to that locker room? Because there's a reason why this team wasn't good for their first 20 games, because they were disinterested. It was a bad work environment. No, it sucked to be going to work today, knowing two of the highest paid guys are acting like winning is not the most important thing in that dressing room. And that's just not good enough from Pettesson and Miller. And they pucked up the season, man, for real.
Oh, 100%. It was the number one storyline. The number one issue with the Canucks this season is, this team on paper had Stanley Cup aspirations. Kyle, I don't think that we were absolutely ludicrous just being drunk off the blue and green saying that this team had Stanley Cup aspirations. But again, how are you going to win a Stanley Cup if two of the best three players on your team can't get along? And look, you listen to the media presser at the end of the season here, and there's still so many things that are unanswered, man. There's still so many things that are unanswered about exactly what happened behind the scenes. But, obviously very quickly things fell off of the Vancouver Canucks and they were doomed because of it. And it ended up being such a big story from November through the end of January when Miller ended up getting traded. And I don't think anyone saw that coming at the beginning of the season.
No way, dude. Miller here, dude. Look back at the film, man. In October, when we heard all those rumors about Miller possibly being traded, like I pretty much called Paul Bissonnette an idiot. Stupid. Like I was calling every media outlet, like, what do you leave Vancouver alone? I know it's good for the SEO when you involve the Vancouver Canucks, but how the hell are you making up a rumor that JT Miller, who just signed an 8-year deal, who got 100 points last year, who had some playoff moments as well, who had his best defensive season of his career last year as well, how you gonna tell me that guy's gonna get traded? That's the stupidest ever. But Don just got traded, so you damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's the saying, right? Obviously, JT Miller could get traded too in those terms. But man, it still hurts because, again, Trevor, life is long, but it's also short. 13 months ago, again, this guy's making me smile, man. This guy's making me fall more in love with the game of hockey because, as Tocchet, kind of touched on in his press conference today, like Miller's a dog.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing. Tocchet did not want JT Miller off his team.
Yeah,
okay?
Exactly.
But not to cut you off, I do want to say one more thing. If we're using the press conference and we're using this timeline, and again, we may be all over the place, and we'll be here for a long time. Yeah, Miller and Pettesson, they pucked up big time, like drama queen S. We don't know what really happened, but if you're not focused on winning, that's bullshit for real. This is not Phoenix, it's Vancouver. But man, oh man, as Brock Boeser touched on, man, in his press conference, I don't feel like Quinn Hughes would say something like this, but Brock Boeser, paraphrasing just a bit, but the noise gets to this group. They can't have, Brock Boeser wishes that they squabbled it, right? And Tocchet said that they tried to do it. You don't think these guys went to dinner, right? Boom, bam. But the noise gets to this team. It always does. And you know what? I enjoyed Drance's questions, bro, because he asked about that a couple of times. And again, that's not good enough for a team that plays in Vancouver. Yeah, you're a Canuck, but you're a Vancouver Canuck.
Yeah, 100%. And you think you mentioned a Brock Boeser specifically, mentioned the noise getting to the team. And, Quinn Hughes, Tyler Myers talk about, battling adversity all season long and how it really was a tough season for the Vancouver Canucks. But Kyle, I did want to say off the top, I think one of the major turning points in the season, we talk about the Miller Pettesson fight at practice. Obviously, that happened in late October. Elliot Friedman then comes out with a report saying that the Canucks want Pettesson to toughen up. So there's noise going on, right? I mean, there's always noise going on in Vancouver, even at the beginning of 2023-24 with Pettesson contract drama, Garland trade rumors. There was always noise in Vancouver. But all that being said, the Canucks did start off I just checked it here, 7-2-3 in their first 12 games. And
Why you gotta
so
hurt
there's
me
the
like
OT
that?
losses. There was the big loss in New Jersey in there as well. But they were 7-2-3 in their first 12 games, right? Only 2 regulation losses. But the big turning point for me really was the Brock Boeser injury, right? Brock Boeser was off to a good start for the Canucks. He takes that elbow from Tanner Jeannot, and very quickly after that, the Canucks really start showing their cracks, right? The game after that was the 7-3 loss to the Oilers. 3 games later, that was the 5-2 loss to the New York Islanders at home ice, where they're getting outshot like 21-5 in the second period by this sad sack purple and orange hockey team. And then 5 games later, they lose to the Nashville Predators, one of the worst teams in hockey, on home ice as well. And of course, that was the last game before JT Miller exited the Vancouver Canucks. But, really for me, it was that Boeser injury. He exits the lineup. The team's already looking a little weaker. And then, of course, 5 games later, Miller's gone after a really poor 5-game stretch in his team. So,
And Trevor,
really November for me, it was where things really fell off the wagon for your Vancouver Canucks.
Trevor, I forgot about the Boeser concussion because I want to program my mind to forget about it because I was trying to, again, not bleed toxicity all over your hair and have your children be scared of you, okay? Look, I can't picture you bald, man. I'm sorry. I just can't. All in all, though, let me dig a little deeper, okay? It's 420 somewhere. The fact that Brock Boeser, right, longest tenured Canuck, that dog, that guy, had such a good year last year. The guy that's been through a lot. The fact that that guy got blatantly cheap-shotted and nobody did anything about it. Nobody. Which was often the case during the season when it comes to the Canucks. Taking liberties. Do whatever you want. But the fact that you saw nobody stand up for Brock Boeser in that moment, not Pius Suter, not Kiefer Sherwood who just got here, Brock Boeser, the fact that nobody did anything just showed you that this team was just from the jump, they just weren't a team. They weren't a team. And they talk about them going 7-2-3. Again, watch the film. It's because Kevin Lankinen was really, really good. And Quinn Hughes was really, really good. Like the best player in the world. So you can win games early on in the regular season, but this team was never a team, man. It's sad. Now, I do want to bring up this before you get into like November and December. Again, hit the like button. It's going to be a long one. We'll run an ad before this little statement, and maybe you guys can get in on the action in the comments, because this is a big thing to me that nobody's talking about. The fact that Ian Clark did whatever in August involving the Canucks, and like there was a miscommunication or like not agreement, and roles got changed. Okay, the fact that happened, then a couple months later, Artur Shilovs was just so not just bad, but like forgotten about, to a point where I kind of blame Tocchet and management for like destroying this guy's confidence. Like, where's your belief in that guy? Because not finding his game, and that's a team thing. We're talking about a second-year player, still a rookie in NHL terms. The fact that those guys couldn't lead him to find his swagger back, just so you can get a couple more quality starts from him, that's the reason why we're not in the playoffs too. 100%.
Yeah. Artur Shilovs, again, statistically, was one of the worst goaltenders in the NHL early on in the season for the Vancouver Canucks. And the game against the Flames wasn't great. He was a bit better in that Tampa game, but the Canucks didn't muster up any offense there. And then, he has that start against I can think of the Pittsburgh Penguins in late November there, where, Hirona gets injured. He gives up a bunch of goals to the Pittsburgh Penguins. And look, it's part of it's got to be on Shilovs to perform too. Like, I know what you're saying about talking.
He's a young player.
This guy's confidence. Well, he's a young player, 100%. But I think there was pressure in that organization early on, right? If you want to tie it back to everything else going on, right? There was pressure to win, and they did not feel like they could win with Artur Shilovs. And in fairness, he didn't really give them any quality starts, except maybe you could argue that Tampa game early on where they lost 4-1. But he looked pretty porous in his first handful of starts. And with Kevin Lankinen looking as good as he did, I think that was kind of the end for Artur Shilovs in Vancouver. It was disappointing, but especially as a goaltender, I think you got a short shelf life to prove that you can do it. They had no choice but to play Shilovs really in the playoffs, but he performed in that situation. I guess he had DeSmith there too. But early on, he wasn't good, and Kevin Lankinen was Vezina worthy. So, it's disappointing, but I'm not too surprised with what happened with Artur Shilovs. I'm not sure the Canucks should have done anything differently, to be honest with you.
But he's still only Kevin Lankinen, and he broke down towards the end of the season, and
100%.
And it's like, how could they not even try it? Like, they gave up on it. Once like Shilovs had 2 or 3 starts, I feel like he had like one more in a span of like 18 games, and now it's just over. It's over. Like, you're never playing again. And Like, what if he did find his game? Maybe Lankinen is a little bit more healthier. Maybe the Canucks, because Sheloff finds his game, picks up like 3 to 7 more points. You make the playoffs. But this team was like, just gave up on Sheloff so early. I get it. I understand it. But yo, you're talking about execution. You need for teams to be good, you need your coaches to pull things off. And that coaching staff, along with that new goaltending coach, they did work well with Lankinen. Who, you know, had a pass that with Oscar, what's his name? Tutorial, that guy. They did well together, but if they found a way to help Shelov's out, this team would be in a better place. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? Just look at how it played out in the beginning of the season here. I mean, Shelov's obviously gets the first start, the 5-6 loss to Calgary in overtime. Loses in Tampa Bay. Then Kevin Lankinen plays 5 straight. Shelov's third game is the Devils game where the Canucks lose 6-0. Then he wins against Chicago. Doesn't play that bad against the Rangers. And then he has the Pittsburgh game. By then it's late November. He started 6 games and his season was basically done from there. Didn't play again from late November all the way until the end of February there.
Yeah, Lankinen needed a break, and the show needs a break again. It's going to be a long one. Kyle Bound, Trevor Beggs, hit the like button. Might be here for 45 minutes, 55 minutes. I might be here for 6 hours. Who knows? Rumor has it this is my last episode too. More on that by the end of that. Trevor, I don't want to cry. Shut me up, okay?
All right, Kyle, take a moment to wipe your eyes, scratch your sack, do what you need to do. You're listening to Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every damn day, recapping what was one of the craziest seasons in Vancouver Canucks history. We'll be back on the other side after shouting at our friends over at Amazon Fire TV Stick. What? Man, oh man. Okay, I got the Fire Stick on my TV, but I did not know this. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire Stick 4K devices, no console required. This is the future, man. Just grab your parent controller.
Turn your TV into an Xbox. I don't need an Xbox. All I need is a stick. My dog has a stick. I got a stick. I got an Xbox.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, man. And Kyle, this might be the time of year to get that Fire TV stick because the Canucks are out of the playoffs. So it might be time to get into NHL 25, maybe a little college football, Madden, and Call of Duty Black Ops 6, whatever you want to play. You can do it easily as streaming your favorite shows on the Fire TV stick. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. So head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire Stick TV 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube the 3rd Gen. Let's go, baby.
Okay, man, oh man. Sorry for those technical difficulties.
You're rusty, bud.
I'm not drunk. I'm only having another beer here. Like it's one beer. I'm just drinking one beer a day. It's not a health podcast. But I'm just saying the season's been stressful. And look, Trevor, put your beer out. We didn't even plan this, okay? We didn't even plan this. How are we drinking the same beer? What are the chances? Because unlike Pettesson and Miller, we're here for you guys, and we got to bring our best. Game in and game out, even when we're not seeing eye to eye. Oh, more on that by the end of the episode, man. Maybe that's why things are over here on Locked On Canucks. Or maybe things are over here because the Canucks, again, I just told you, in my 20s, I'm getting old. I'm already almost 32, in my 20s. Dude, I didn't get to go to like one playoff game with the bros. I didn't get to like go to the same bar for a whole playoff round and mingle with the neighborhood while we watch Canucks games. Isn't that crazy, Trevor? Isn't that crazy? That's pretty crazy. You can't tell me that I haven't gone through hell with this team. Straight up. And now after doing what they did last year, they're no longer in the dance. Obviously, we're going to be sensitive, emotional, and hurt, and rightfully so, because again, this is not Phoenix. This is Vancouver. And Trevor, December, like what was happening in December? Because at this point, I think I started blacking out.
Yeah, I mean, December it ended up being more win-loss, right? I mean, the Canucks had about that month-long stretch without JT Miller in the lineup where, Pettesson actually looked good for a stretch. I mean, I think he, in those 10 games, had 15 points. I know he had 20 points in 15 games right around that time. And look, the Canucks, most of the games they played were close games, right? There wasn't the blowouts like the Islanders and Oilers They had that game against the Senators where they kind of woke up Ottawa and sprung their season forward. They had wins against the Bruins, Penguins, and there's that road trip too where they won a lot of games where they probably shouldn't have won. The Sabres game in overtime, the Red Wings game. But again, it was a pretty good stretch of the Canucks. And then JT Miller comes back, and all of a sudden things starts kind of going south for the Vancouver Canucks. JT Miller returns on December 12th. There was a 4-0 win against the Panthers. In the Canucks' next game, the Boston Bruins on home ice. It was that 5-1 loss to the Bruins, who, as we know, ended up as one of the worst teams in the league. And it was just a lot of inconsistency from this group, right? You had wins over the Colorado Avalanche. We had losses to the Golden Knights, the Senators. Hughes and Pettesson started to get injured around Christmas. So you had the Crackin loss. They lost the Flames on New Year's Eve as well. So just the inconsistency and the injury started to catch up this team in the middle part of the season. And again, the Canucks were just never really able to recover. And in the midst of that, I'm talking about injuries in the game to game, but this Miller and Pettesson thing is becoming a story every damn day in the news. Like, they're not playing on the power play together. This thing just kind of starts taking over in a stretch where the Canucks were win one, lose one. Great some nights, awful some other nights, and unfortunately kind of took over the season. But Kyle, maybe I'll throw it to you. Do you feel like the media was at fault at all here? And I know this question's been asked before, but no, I'm just saying, right? Because it was talked about all the time. Pettesson mentioned in the post-game media availability today that it felt like the story between him and Miller was even bigger story than the game sometimes. And he said that both him and Miller had a hard time adapting to that. But like, what's your take on that? I mean, obviously the players are a little bit bitter about it. The media's got to do their job, but where do you lie on that whole situation?
Bro, like, remember, I mean, I know we haven't gotten to all of it yet, but like Alvin's already talking beep about like all this shit that's going on with this team, with these guys. It wasn't just like the media's fault. And there's obviously truth. Like, one of these guys in the room leaked like there's a problem going on. It's not fun being a Vancouver Canuck. And you're talking about all the injuries too. And the next thing you know, like, you're in that room, the vibes aren't good. All these other things are happening also. And you're like, oh, maybe it's not meant to be. That starts creeping in your mind. And it just, it was evident on the ice that this team just never, ever, ever, ever had it. And they never wanted it for each other. Again, you're talking about two of the highest paid guys on the team. First and foremost, like, Jake DeBrusk just got there. Kiefer Sherwood just got there. Vincent Deronari just got there, Forbert just got there. No, these guys just got there, and they're probably thinking, oh, the Canucks are like, yeah. Kevin Lankinen just got there. Oh, the Canucks they're on the up. And it's like, you go into that dressing room, you're like, yo, these guys they're not a team. They're not a team. Bro, teams make it far in the playoffs, and we saw it this year. Like, you need to at least be a decent team. I'm talking about the camaraderie in order to get to like the playoffs, to finish in the top 16. And like, just because they weren't a team and it wasn't fun being a Canuck, it allowed their effort to be so mediocre, so lackadaisical. There's such a lack of care. That's why they weren't a team for one another. And they couldn't go the extra mile in games that could have just been won if they were trying harder. But bro, it was so disappointing, especially in the first 50 games, to see all this happening. And the crazy thing about that, it's like, while this is happening, like, I wouldn't say comfortably in a playoff spot, but we're in a playoff spot the whole time, mainly because of Quinn Hughes. And that's the crazy thing about the first half of the season. It's like, I've never seen a better hockey player play for the Canucks in my life. And to be honest, this is probably some recency bias, but I felt like we had Connor McDavid on our team watching Quinn Hughes on a lot of nights.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's, like Rick Talkin mentioned it too, like, through the first 50 games, Quinn Hughes was, right in that MVP conversation. And come on, every day is no. We said it here on Locked On Canucks. I mean, I think a travesty in this whole season was wasting that brilliance from Quinn Hughes. But obviously injuries weren't on his side either. He wasn't quite the same player over the last 20 games or so, or even after the Four Nations break, when his team took a bit of a slide. Because remember, like, they're in a playoff spot when the Four Nations ends, right? Like, they're right in the mix to battle for that final wildcard spot. But even though Hughes was in the lineup for a chunk of those games, he wasn't as healthy and he wasn't the same player. But I think that's one reason why you believe in the Canucks moving forward, because of course there's going to be the drama about Quinn Hughes and will he stay or will he not stay? And that was addressed today, but he is right now and into next season going to be a member of the Vancouver Canucks, and he's one of the best players in the league. He's a guy you can build around. And look, this Canucks team has a high floor, and solving the forward position in this offseason is not going to be easy. But if they can't even get to mediocre on offense, you got a guy like Quinn Hughes on your team. You got the goaltending. Like, there are reasons to be hopeful heading into next season.
Yeah, and it's ironic because if you want to talk about hope and you want to talk about December and you want to talk about going into a new year and it feeling a bit fresher and this team needing a break in the holidays and boom, bam. Again, going into the break, I mean, just to see Pettesson get hurt like the day before the break against San Jose, after he played, like, I feel like that game was kind of quiet. Then he scored, I think he scored like a couple goals or did he get like 2 points in the span of like 30 seconds? I don't know what it was, but he was playing decent or playing better. And when he got hurt, it was again, Trevor, like, I know we get emotional about these things, but this is the time to have the Canucks back because they are a team, bro. They went through a lot of injuries this year, and it's just like, yeah, you know what I'm saying, bro? Like, it was crazy. The list was on and on and on. And yeah, Pettesson banged up all year. You just get Miller back. Peterson's catching his game. He's about to get hurt. Hey, it's just one thing after another going into 2025.
Yeah, well, and one guy we haven't even really talked about that much is Thatcher Demko, right? I mean, we talked about Shilovs and Lankin in the first segment of the show, but Thatcher Demko, he doesn't return to the Vancouver Canucks until December 10th. Again, Demko and Miller return at the same time, pretty much. And Demko comes back first game December 10th. Miller returns December 12th. You're thinking, okay, yes, let's go. Peterson's been playing better. We got Demko back. We got Miller back. It's time to cut the crap and get to business. And what happened instead is that the Canucks really kept sputtering all the way through. Demko wasn't great. Miller was playing like he was absolutely checked out of this team. So again, there was a lot of hope still, I think, in early December that things could be different. But again, Demko comes back December 10th. He plays so gets injured again on January 2nd. Comes back. We had the back spasms in the Kraken game. Comes back 2 weeks later on January 16th. Then he gets on a roll. And then he leaves the lineup once again here towards the end of the season. He gets injured on February 8th, right before the Four Nations break. Comes back, then has an illness. So he was in, out, and did seem to be finding a bit of a rhythm down the stretch. But when you play, less than 20 games, is that what that Demko finished with this season? I mean, he was doomed from the start for sure.
It's crazy. Trevor, again, now we're touching on the injuries. We're touching on being doomed. We're touching on the real things. Motherfuckers being actually hurt. And we're already in January. We completely forgot about Filip Hronek missing 2 months. Like, we talked about Shilovs being at loss for that in November in that Pittsburgh game, like how bad he was. Because I know what you're saying. Like, he was bad in that game. There's just a lot of goals being scored in that game. But go check out Quinn Hughes' goal in that game. That was like one of the goals of the year. But it's going to be lost because the Canucks are in the Pacific Standard Time, and they're just not a sexy team. They're an annoying team. Anyways, he gets hurt for 2 months. He comes back sometime in January too. And then Demko gets hurt again right before the Four Nations. It's like, what the hell's going on? What's going on? Quinn Hughes is playing with the robotic hand. And you know what's crazy about this, Trevor? I know we're doing a timeline episode. We're recapping ourselves. And at the end of the episode, we're going to go through the press conference and all the quotes from all the players and get emotional again. But it's like, this is why I'm so pissed off. When there's so much noise and so much drama, and it's been a 10-year thing, not a 2-year thing, not a 4-year thing. This has been a decade-long thing with the Canucks being absolute ass. Like, you don't even talk about the games. You talk about it's like we're watching a soap opera. Hockey fans want to talk about what happened, like a moment that happened in the second period on January 14th that changed the season or led to, where we are right now prior to this series we got going on in the first round. We want to talk about the real things in life. But with all the drama on this team, it's absolute bullshit. And, dude, all the bad luck. And I keep saying this, all the players got hurt. All the players got hurt this year. And some people are like, oh, my God, this was the obvious because last year we were so healthy. And that never happens. All of our players played 84 games. Wow, this year's not going to be the same. Watch out. You know why all of our players started getting hurt? Because we did not sign Phil Kessel. Let this guy live in Abbotsford for a couple months. And right before the trade deadline, which is also the playoff cutoff time, it's like, you know what? Never mind. We don't want you.
Man, the bad vibes of not signing Phil Kessel coming back to haunt the Canucks. That was the storyline I didn't think I would hear on this episode of Locked On Canucks. Man, oh man, Kyle, I missed you, brother. And yeah, Phil Kessel again. It looked like he was going to come back, and he's now officially retired thanks to being forced to live in Abbotsford for 1 month. That's what Abbotsford does to a person.
Because Trevor, think about it, man. This team, I know this team got rid of Zadorov too, a good team guy, right? This team gave up Gavin McKenna for Marcus Pettesson. They really needed that much team effort. Like they wanted that camaraderie, right? They wanted those good locker room guys. Okay, keep in mind that. But what would have happened if they brought Phil Kessel in last year? I'm not saying that they win the Stanley Cup, but maybe they keep him for another year. And like you need that glue. You need that guy that's able to like, you know how Talkett was like, oh, you don't think we tried going out for dinner with Pedersen and Miller? We didn't try going to Amsterdam Cafe. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm just 420 somewhere, like they didn't try to make it work, try to make those two work. Maybe Phil Kessel or Nikita Zadorov could have made Miller and Pedersen, who at their best for a couple more years, especially in Pedersen's case, like they should still be like 90 to 100 point guys, like 2 number 1 centers on a team. Like what if Kessel's there and he's able to just laugh it off or crack a joke or say the right things because he's, renowned as being one of the best teammates ever. And Trevor, we've been there. Sometimes you just need a homie like that. It's not all about the hockey and all that stuff. Like you need the right guy. Yeah, and they lost Zadorov and they didn't even experiment with the Kessel thing to like make that room tighter. Because again, Gavin McKenna for Marcus Pettesson, man.
Oh my God, man. That's when we're gonna have to retire here from Locked On Canucks if the Pittsburgh Penguins end up drafting Gavin McKenna.
Do the math, though. The next phenom.
I think it makes a lot of sense, man. I hadn't really thought about that angle, but he has been such a glue guy on a number of teams, and of course there was teams like we're omitting facts where he didn't get along with teammates in some cases too, right? Like it wasn't a perfect tenure for Phil Kessel, but guys, especially towards the end of their careers, tend to be a little bit lighter, a little bit more experienced in those situations. We saw with Roberto Luongo even as his career went on as well. So yeah, I mean, I look at the Canucks in the 2023-24 playoffs. Like guys like Ilya Mikheyev were not going at all. Nils Höglander not going at all. Like they definitely had room for another winger on that team, and the Phil Kessel experiment could have blown up in their face, but it's hard to know without them trying. So, this Canucks team obviously needed some better vibes. Phil Kessel seems like the best vibes guy to bring in the room, and the Canucks chose not to do it. Which, in hindsight, it's a little interesting.
Damn, are there like 8 grams of mushrooms in our Yellow Dog brew? I don't think so, but we're going off the radar here. Okay, do we have to give another shout out to somebody before we get into like February and arguably the worst March in Canucks history? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, let's do it, buddy. You're listening to Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every damn day. We'll be back on the other side after showing our friends over at Gametime. Man, we won't be buying Canuck tickets this spring, but maybe I'll go be visiting my home away from home, which is Ottawa, and cheering on those Ottawa Senators against the Toronto Maple Leafs. F those Maple Leafs. But hey, the Locked boys were tweeting it out. Apparently, Ottawa's sold out, and Toronto, you can still get tickets there. Is the fan base from Toronto a little softer than we think? Maybe I'll get tickets there for the Leafs in Toronto. But if I get those tickets, I'm going to be getting them from Gametime, okay? Because I've never been to a live playoff game outside of Vancouver, but I know being in a playoff game, there's nothing better. And Gametime makes getting it in the door even easier and more affordable than ever before. God, did you know that, as you get closer to the game, prices actually drop up to 60% with last-minute deals on Gametime. And that's why I love Gametime. They got the last-minute deals. They get the all-in pricing and the panoramic seat views on the app. Oh, baby. So make sure you take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Go download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
People, we back doing this, being friends. And speaking of being friends, how do we go 35 minutes into this long conversation about the craziest Canucks season of all time? Again, it doesn't get messier than this or messier than this. That's what we were told. That's what, when I became a Canucks fan in 2002, my dad's like, you know what, you can do it. Because it's a pretty critical decision. Like when you let your son pick a favorite sports team, like I'm not going to let my kid cheer for the Cleveland Browns. I'm not going to set him up for depression and early balding and erectile dysfunction. I'm going to get in the way. Okay, but I think my dad told me that, like, you know what? It can't get messier than it just did. Post 99, 2000, and all that stuff. Naslin was coming up. Like, it's the right time to let my son do this thing. And that's not watch corn. That's watch the Canucks. Where am I going with this? This season sucked, man. But yeah, how did we just go 35 minutes of just talking to each other? and not reading one comment, and also just not saying thanks, man. Thanks for another season of just letting us use this environment as like a counseling session, a therapy session, talk about the Canucks. This is not media, it's just emotional stuff. And yeah, I know Begsy and I really appreciate that, man. Like I know Trevor jokes about the $7 a month we make or all that stuff. And Trevor needs therapy. He needs to read some Deepak Chopra, to be honest, because money's the root of all evil. Okay, straight up, you gotta learn that. Okay, look at the. Can you just stare at the clouds right now for me, please? Turn around, stare at the clouds, and just take a deep breath. Okay, it's money's. I know, but yo, bro, we are living the dream every day.
No, 100%, man. There's honestly not much I love more than doing Locked On Canucks with you, brother. And even without you, man, you know, it's not the same, man, because life's better with your brothers. But I'll make it work no matter what. Whether you're here or whether you're not here, Locked On Canucks will live on, man. But you know, it's I always say this, man. As long as someone wants to listen to me talk hockey, I'm gonna do it, baby, because I love this team and I want to be there for the good times. And you got to be there for the bad times if you truly want to celebrate the good times.
Wow, Trevor, that wasn't Deepak Chopra. That was probably Brian Thomas. Okay, it is what it is. I don't know if I want to read that book, but I'm happy, you know, because if you want to keep your hair, you got to be a little bit more spiritual. Okay. Anyways, we will get to comments. We will get to talking about the press conference. Just give us some time. We're in February now. We're in March now. This all feels the same. The whole season felt like the whole hell, honestly, straight up. February, I'm not going to say it was a blur, but it hurt. It broke my heart because I'm not going to front. Even with the Rutherford article, right, with the Globe and Mail and all that stuff. And keep in mind, I just got out of the hospital too. I'm going to doctor's appointments. My heart's hurt. My Canucks heart is hurt. I'm dealing with a lot. And Rutherford said what he said about Miller and Pettesson and how, like, you know, like this thing's coming to an end. I still thought there was a chance. And it's crazy because ironically, there was like a domination against the St. Louis Blues in the middle of that month or early in that month. And this is like a couple days after, or maybe a day before the Rutherford article. And I'm like, you know what? Winning fixes everything. Like, what if the Canucks win 5 straight here and it's because of Miller doing his thing and they can't trade him and Pettersson's getting a little bit better? Who knows? But I thought for a minute there that we were going to be able to keep 2 number 1 centers on this team.
Yeah, no, I believed it too up until really the very end. And I guess when that Jim Rutherford article came out, which was obviously a very big turning point in this Canucks season. You know, look, you looked at the Canucks on paper, and I think, Kyle, that's why we thought this team had Stanley Cup aspirations. Is like 2 100-point centers. You got a high floor. You got a team who can play defense. You're pretty deep at forward overall as long as your stars are going. And you got a great goaltending tandem as well. So I think there was a lot of reasons why you had hope for this team. And, you know, Kyle, look, it's one of the things in this Canucks season where we had hope too was that 6-1-1 stretch right before the Four Nations break, right? They'd won 7 of 8, they've gotten picked up points in 7 of 8. They go 6-1-1. Part of that before the Miller trade, part of that after the Miller trade. They went 3-1-1 after trading JT Miller. So we had hope. And then, you know, Kyle, you said at the time, like they beat the Maple Leafs and then boom, you have the Four Nations break for 2 weeks. And you're like, this break is coming at a really bad time for the Vancouver Canucks because they had some momentum right now. And of course, they come out of that break and they were never the same. They were just a team that was, I'm not even sure if they made it to hockey 500. But they were certainly below 500. They had more losses than wins over the past couple months of the season after the Four Nations break.
Holy, you're sounding like a robot there. But I heard everything because I understand robots now since it's 2025 and I speak the language of AI because I don't want to fall behind and I want to feed my family. And I want to help Trevor Beggs' family out too, okay? More on that by the end of the show, okay? Where am I going with this? Trevor, man. You skipped over it, man. You skipped over it. And yeah, there was some hope there. 3-1-1, boom, bam. Okay. Oh my God. I wish we didn't have this bullshit tournament break because I just want the Canucks to keep winning games because I'm kind of scared that they need to pick up points now because I don't think this team's going to pick up points later. It's going to be a tight race. I was all scared, but man, we have to talk about that tournament. Okay. Now known as the most important hockey tournament in the history of the game. Recency bias, maybe, but a possibility, yes. But man, oh man, I wish, not only do I wish that tournament didn't exist just for the sake of the Canucks keeping their momentum, but I wish that tournament didn't exist so Pettersson could play more games because he was ass in that tournament. And this guy can't handle the noise. He can't handle the smoke. He's too vulnerable right now. Everything gets to him, right? Everything gets to him. Even look at the way he was talking today. People are saying, no, maybe there's a language barrier. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. He seems like a cerebral guy. I just feel like right now, this season, whatever this is, and maybe this is why he needs to go home, because he needs to just cut, like, because he's not thinking straight here. And whatever happened at the Four Nations tournament, whether going into it, him succumbing to the pressures, how like Lindholm was saying, like, oh, this guy's gonna be great, blah blah blah, all this stuff. Like, he just couldn't handle the noise at any point this season. And bro, dude, outside of what happened in the 4-game stretch prior to his oblique injury in New York, like, he was just so back to being so bad after having that great first period against the Toronto Maple Leafs right before the break. And this team could not afford to go into the last 25 games with the guy that they picked, Miller, over, still being so bad. You know what I'm saying? Our number one center was Pius Suter. Our third best player was Kiefer Sherwood. Bro, Pettesson let down this team. And I know we'll get to it at the end, but I'm Pettesson, like, I know you're mad at the media and you're mad at the team, and maybe you're mad at talking about what he said about you in this press conference too, but a bit of accountability and just a bit of compassion for the fan base through the media is pretty important, because you're that guy. You're the whole stadium. You're the whole arena. And nothing tells me that this guy it's like he's not locked in right now. He's emotional. And yeah, like, again, post Four Nations break, like, he let the team down, man.
Yeah, unfortunately, we are all locked on Canucks, Cox. You got to be locked in. You got to be locked on. But Elias Pettesson is not a locked on Canuck, man, because, like you said, I don't think he looks locked in the slightest. And if you want to recap his press conference quickly, it's he admitted that he had an oblique injury. He said that he's going to stay in Vancouver a little bit longer before he goes back to Sweden, but it was a lot of non-answers for the most part. And Kyle, I think you said it. It's compassion for the fan base, and guys got pride, guys got ego. But Harman Dial asked the question about your skating speed and shot velocity dropping off over the past couple of seasons. Do you have any idea about that? And he's like, nope. Basically, like, I don't know.
And look at
Patrick Johnson.
Look at Jake DeBrusk, gets a career high in goals and doesn't even. And says he's got to be way better. He's like, I don't like the, like, I'm paraphrasing just a bit. I know people don't like when I paraphrase, but this is the way my brain works. Go double check yourself. But I think I'm right. He's pretty much saying, yeah, I scored 28 goals, but who gives a puck? Because most of these goals were in front of the net. I didn't do anything on the rush. I wasn't creating offense. I wasn't driving. I got to do way more. That's what Jake DeBrusk said.
Yeah, no, 100%. I actually wrote down the quote here because I thought that was an interesting one. You talk about offseason preparation. DeBrusk's quote was, "I don't think my game was where I needed to be coming into the season." So similar to Pettesson in that regard. And then he went on to say, "I got to go to the game instead of waiting for the game to come to me." And that one really stood out to me because I mentioned it in the episode yesterday about the underdogs rising up this season, but the big problem was the stars not being there, and that was Jake DeBrusk included. And shout out to Dan Jardine, shout out to all our commenters. I know some people were not happy that I mentioned that Jake DeBrusk. I didn't think he had a great season, even though he led this team in goals, because I think that was the perfect quote right there. He was waiting for the game to come to him. He scored most of his goals in front of the net, but he mentioned it today in the press conference that he's used to scoring goals off the rush as well. Like, he's been pretty quick. He's been good off the rush. We didn't see any of that this year from Jake DeBrusk. We didn't see any physicality from Jake DeBrusk. It really did look like the game was, waiting to come to him. But I think, again, I liked his forthcoming in that press conference, and he just wanted to see that from Pettesson. And everyone's personality is a little bit different, but he just seemed, again, incredibly dismissive today, just the way he has this whole season. And look, you talked about the pressure maybe getting to him with the contract and him overthinking things. At this point with Elias Pettesson, I don't really care. Like, just figure it out, block the noise out, do what you need to do. I don't care if you suck at communicating with the media. I've mentioned it before. Nikita Kucherov, a guy that also sucks with communicating with the media. But Nikita Kucherov also has never had a drop-off like this. He's been a 100-point player on a team that's won multiple Stanley Cups. So you get a bit more benefit of the doubt. But yeah, with Elias Pettesson, either just shut up and figure it out, or hopefully the Canucks can find a way to get some value out of this guy, because, they are at a huge crossroads with this player, and their entire future hinges on whether or not he bounces back or whether or not they can trade him for bullet assets, which kind of seems unlikely right now.
It's in question, man. It's in question. And honestly, I hope they keep him. I hope he just like has the best like offseason ever and like reprograms his mind. Maybe he could listen to some Mel Robbins. You know who that is, Trevor?
Mel Robbins, yeah.
Hey, brother, man, we speak the same language, baby. You know, like, I hope, because I actually think he's a great player. And we lived a long life, Trevor. Like, we've had off years, you know? We've had that off time. Like, he just needs to like, again, I want to talk more about this at the end of the episode because like the press conference is really fascinating and I want to bring up the talking thing. But Trevor, remind me of this comment, okay? Red Risotto saying, yeah, Pettesson, the speaking is fine, but his nuance matters in language. I don't know what that means, but I think I know what that means and how it relates to what Tocchet said about what he wants from Pettesson and how Pettesson represented himself today. All in all, though, February, Miller gets traded. I hope it didn't happen. We get Hedl, we get Mancini, we get a first, and then we get Marcus Pettesson for Gavin McKenna. And it's like, so much happened. So much happened in a small amount of time. And there lies the question again. I mean, I know, Trevor, you want to get into like what happened in March and at the trade deadline and how this team kept Suter and Besser when it's like, prior to the end of the season, 7 of your last 9 seasons, you haven't made the playoffs. No team at that point should be moving like that. No team. And I saw this other tweet. I don't know who tweeted it out, but it was like, never forget that the Canucks got Elias Pettesson, the defenseman, because they traded Travis Hamonic for that pick. Never forget. And then somebody brought up like, this is pretty much exactly why you had to trade Suter and Besser this year. Because we don't make the playoffs. This team sucks. I'm sorry. This team sucks. When you don't make the playoffs 8 out of the last 10 seasons, you can't tell me you're close to contending. You suck. But you're moving like a buyer. Aquilini. Anyways, I know you want to get there. But we have to go there, man. This team traded a first-round pick, a premium first-round pick, potentially for a rental. I know they signed Pettesson and maybe they want to get ahead of it. But A, that was a risk I don't want my team taking if I'm the Canucks. And B, it's for Marcus Pettesson. I like Marcus Pettesson, but it's not for a top 6 forward. It's not for a top 3 defenseman. It's for Marcus Pettesson.
Yeah, I've been spelling it this week on Locked On Canucks, Kyle. I don't know if you've been tuning in or if you've been tuning out of the Canucks, but look, it's in hindsight. I mean, it was a terrible decision, but I think at the time we felt it was also a terrible decision. Again, trading an unprotected 2026 unprotected first round pick for Marcus Pettesson. At the time, we were thinking like, is this basically JT Miller for Marcus Pettesson? But I think that 2026 pick is so crucial because I think there was some hope that New York's going to bounce back with JT Miller. Like they might not be a cup contender, but they're going to bounce back. They're not going to be a bottom 13 team. Yeah, they were a bottom 13 team. And now that is an unprotected 2026 first round pick. And look, Marcus Pettesson, he's a good player. He's a fine defenseman. He raised the floor of this team. The defense looks really solid, and he's a big part of that. He helped the Canucks have the best penalty kill in the league after we acquired him. But this is also a team firmly stuck in the mushy middle, and this is a team in the mushy, a move that a team in the mushy middle will make. And I know winning matters in the short term with Quinn Hughes. I know you wanted to make the playoffs, chase that revenue, right, Francesco? But again, trading a 2026 unprotected first-round pick is just, for a guy like Marcus Pettesson, Andrew O'Connor, is poor asset management. I've been saying it all week. Like Canucks fans, would you rather have Brock Besser and a 2026 unprotected first, or would you have Marcus Pettesson and Drew O'Connor? Because Brock Besser got offered $8 million by the Canucks. The Canucks paid Marcus Pettesson and Drew O'Connor $8 million at the expense of a first-round pick as well. And it's just, it does seem, I don't want to go dark, Kyle, but it seems a little betting-esque when you see moves like that.
Like Canucks fans are smart, man. They just want people sticking to the plan. And I know Aquilini has this plan of making the playoffs, and like, even if how could you say, Canucks fans like taking being on a plan, and like 1 year we make the playoffs and then 1 year we don't. Like those two things don't connect when it comes to making being on a plan. But what if your plan is to always be smart and always be forward thinking? First and foremost, like not being short-minded. What if that's your plan? Dude, Aquilini showed his colors, and honestly, bro, like you get me emotional, Trevor. You get me emotional, man. You're getting me emotional. And again, I know top 4 defensemen cost a lot, but when I think you trade somebody, you trade a first-round pick that's unprotected in a Gavin McKenna draft, there has to be a certain level of player that you're expecting back. And the ironic thing about that is because the Canucks traded JT Miller, they need to create a package for that player to be brought in during the Quinn Hughes era. But they don't have that package now. But they have Marcus Pettersson. And Marcus Pettersson, a good guy, good player. They needed his poisonous and his calmness, and like Tocchet loves him, and he's a good leader, you know? I get it, but that's an unprotected first-round pick in the Gavin McKenna draft. Like, why not have that be this year's first-round pick, like the Canucks' first-round pick? Yeah. Honestly speaking,
and for a guy you could have signed on July 1st if he made it that far. There's no guarantee he would have made it, but there's a strong chance he would have made it. Like, Pittsburgh would have traded him to somewhere else if it wasn't the Vancouver Canucks, but whether he resigned is another question. So, again, it was an incredibly impatient move. And, look, at the time of the trade, the Canucks are stiffed around the playoffs. You get to the deadline as well. The Canucks are 1 point out of a playoff spot at the deadline. They beat the Wild. They jump into a playoff spot after the deadline. But, God, we've watched this team all season long. We knew that they were a wild card team at best, and that they were likely going far in the playoffs, barring a miracle. And again, you got to be forward thinking too, right? You have the 2026 unprotected first. If you keep it, if you trade Brock Boeser and or Pius Suter, you probably have, a first and a third or a couple of seconds or something else. And now all of a sudden you talk about stockpiling assets to go hard next season and have some leverage. And now the Canucks just don't really have that. They've re-signed a couple of guys from that deal. And again, they've hamstrung this team even further. So again, we're kind of praying for Miracle Hill here too, right? Like, Elias Pettesson could bounce back. He's got all the skills in the world. But that's kind of what you're banking on right now. It feels a bit more of a hope in the prayer than having assets in hand to have control over the situation to really improve this team heading into next season. But I will say, I haven't totally lost faith in this management team, right? I mean, look, the bar is so low in this market based on when Jim Benning was here. I haven't liked a lot of the moves over the past season. That's been a part of it as well. But look, the Patrick Allvin and Jim Rutherford have raised the floor of this team, but I think just finding star power now is really tough to do no matter who's in charge. So, maybe they made the culture better, they've drafted better, they've done better on the pro scouting side, but, finding star pieces is the hardest thing to do, and I'm just not sure if they can do it.
This team's trading Tom Melander. Okay, speaking of not trade or just trading in general, like, again, like, you notice how we're not talking about the games. Like, I'm sorry if you have like this different outlook on like what shifted the Canucks and like, oh, like only if they won that game could they have had momentum. Like maybe if they didn't blow this lead or do this or do that. Dude, puck the games, bro. I'm telling you, the season was a mess the whole way through and it's full of drama, and that's why we're here. That's why we're here, because this team can't play through the noise and the drama matters more, in essence, okay? We go to March and they're still like not going on a run, They're not separating themselves. Now they're like 4 points out. They're in the playoff spot. They're at the deadline. Now they're 2 points out. They're always just in that like mushy, like they're not separating themselves, And they get to the deadline, and again, like they don't trade Suter or they don't trade Boeser. And instead of getting emotional about it, Trevor, like why not use this as the question, right? Because screw April. We don't have to talk about April. Let's ask this question, then go to the quotes, because this is all that matters to me, like realistically, because I'm all about being a smart organization, okay? Like not losing all the time. You didn't win this season, but can you not lose completely this offseason based on what you did at the trade deadline? And that's nothing. This team historically not making the playoffs, one of the worst teams in the last decade. You're not selling at the deadline. You're a joke. I'm sorry. What the... Allvin Rutherford, what? All in all, though, I think this team must sign one of Boeser or Suter, at least one. Letting both go, because you can argue that they need both guys, individually speaking, too, based on who's in their lineup. I know Hedl said he's 100%, but yeah, you need one of these two guys to stay, Trevor. And if both of them go, we're not making the playoffs next year, man.
Yeah, okay, so I'll ask you this question because I power ranked it in one of the episodes you were gone for. But of the Canucks remaining free agents, it's really Boeser, it's Pius Suter, and it's Derek Forbort. Rank them from most likely to least likely to stay with the Vancouver Canucks.
Can you say that again? Like, let me just program this. So ask that question again.
Yeah, Derek Forbort, Brock Boeser, Pius Suter, all Canuck UFAs. Rank them from most likely to least likely to stay with the Vancouver Canucks.
I think most likely is Pius Suter, then Brock Boeser, then Derek Forbort. I mean, a smart organization would not necessarily have that in that order, but have Derek Forbort as the third option in your must bring backs. Okay. But again, I think Pius Suter's number one because Tocchet likes him and he'll be relatively cheaper. Like to an extent, like I know the interesting thing about that is like, Pius Suter did not give me the energy that he's sticking around in Vancouver. Okay. For real.
Yeah.
Like, not at all. Like, but he's such a quiet guy. I never hear this guy talk at all in his last 2 years as a Canuck. So I don't know if that's just him, but I think that because Tocchet values him, and he also had mentioned how like, he could see Pius Suter being a head coach. Like, just that familiarity that you're talking about, leadership, somebody a coach could lean on, and somebody that like, what you're gonna get from Pius Suter. Again, I don't think this is his last season scoring 25 goals. Like, I think he can get there at least one more time, because I just think he's good. I think he's good. I know I want to like lean on his penalty killing and his smarts and his cerebralness, but I'm like, maybe this guy has a little bit of dog in him too, because we saw him be one of our best players in the playoffs too. So I'm not saying he's going to be a perennial 20 goal scorer, but he may have a couple more years like that left. And if that's the case, he's a pretty good player.
100%. And Kyle, I ranked it pretty similar to you. I think Pius Suter is the most likely guy to come back. And, all he said about resigning with the Vancouver Canucks is that he liked the city and that he wants to sign with the team sooner than August this time. Look, I think, I don't want to say it's the Canucks are screwed if Boesers and Suter both don't come back. I think there are bigger issues with this team. And, again, overpaying for guys in free agency isn't necessarily the way that most smart teams work. I mean, even look at the Tampa Bay Lightning saying no to Steven Stamkos last year. Like, that was a huge decision for them. And, Boeser and Suter probably aren't even as big decisions as that. But you can utilize your cap dollars differently. So I don't think both players have to come back or either player has to come back. But I think Pius Suter is most likely. I mean, 25 goals are hard to look past. But beyond that, he's just so solid defensively. He's part of one of the top penalty killing forward duos in the league with Teddy Blueger. Like, that means something to a Vancouver Canucks team that prides themselves on defense and has a hard time scoring. But it's just a matter of, can they get Pius Suter to do what, Tyler Myers and Dakota Joshua and Teddy Blueger did last season. And instead of signing Dakota Joshua at 4, they got him at 3.25. Instead of Teddy Blueger signing for maybe 2.5, they get him at 1.9. Myers probably could have gotten 4 in the open market. He gets 3. Can they get Pius Suter to take 4 instead of 5 in terms of what he could get on the open market? I think that's really the biggest question in terms of will he comes back or not.
I think you summed it up best. Like, honestly, I don't know how to rebuttal from that, because I'm trying to think in the position of Suter's spot. And I'm like, that's what they got to do. Because the Canucks are not going to, I feel like good teams also don't even pay a guy like Pius Suter what he's worth. They pay him like $250,000 less.
Yeah. Well, look at the Vegas Golden Knights, right? They have a pretty heavy split between. Yeah.
And on the open market, like, Pius Suter at minimum is getting 4.5. He is. Like, it's over. Like, he's good. He's got good metrics too. He's a smart player. He just scored 25 goals. like, dude, like, that's pretty crazy. And just based on where this team is down the middle and all that stuff. And, Teddy Blueger's only here for 1 more year too. It's just like, I like having Pius Suter for a couple more years. That tells me that you're trying to win, in my opinion. And with Quinn Hughes, you got to win. Now, again, I don't want to go through April. The season ended around that time. They played the Jets, and a couple weeks ago, and the trade deadline stuff, like, it's over. Like, the Canucks just like put their chips in and they failed. This is an automatic F+ season. Shout out to D. Pete. If you want to bring up on the timeline, like, oh, we called up D. Pete and he looks like a piece, and Mancini played good. Go ahead. But Trevor, I've been through the ringer before, and I know what this is, and I do have faith in D. Pete, but I'm not going to over evaluate who looked good on a bad hockey team. I'm sorry. I'm not. Because our fan base deserves better. And this season was an absolute joke. And then we fast forward to today. And again, we're going to the press conferences now. And it's Rick Tocchet. It's Rick Tocchet talking. And, he said a lot. That was a pretty fascinating press conference, man. Like, I don't think I'm digging too deep. He's obviously excited to talk about the game. You can tell he's like one of the guys who declined PR trading. Like, just let me do whatever I want. He's good at it. Don't get me wrong. But there's also times where he's emotional about it. And that's when you get answers, man. So what stuck out for you? Because Tocchet summing up the season again was, in my opinion, must-see TV.
Yeah, I want to say that, I think 2 things stood out to me first and foremost. It was talking about, his comments on Pettesson obviously stood out, and him talking about will he be back or not. And with Petey, he had the quote about, Petey's got to meet us at the 50-yard line. He's like, I don't want to meet him at the 75-yard line. He's got to meet us at the 50. And, I will say that Tocchet was, for the most part, pretty careful in his answers. But there were little things like that saying like, I don't know how much more I can do with this guy. And I actually think he might have said that at one point. I don't know how much more I can do. Part of it is on him. And, not to divert a bit, but Quinn Hughes kind of said the same thing. I thought Patrick Johnson asked a great question. Can you help Pedersen out this offseason? And Hughes basically said, no, it's on Petey to figure it out, but I believe in him. So I thought that was telling. I thought Rick Tocchet saying Petey's got to meet us halfway was telling. And just him talking honestly about, Petey's preparation was subpar. He said he's got to practice better, which is something that I didn't necessarily expect. We all knew the offseason training was subpar, but his practice habits weren't great either. I mean, look, these are major red flags. I think I didn't come out of today feeling better as a Canucks fan. I mean, I love to come on here and spout some positivity, but you hear Rick Tocchet say that about Petey. He's got to practice better. His preparation was subpar. Then you hear Pedersen basically come out and give a bunch of non-answers, be a little bit quiet and dismissive about exactly what happened this season. But yeah, obviously it's Rick Tocchet and Elias Pettesson. Can it work long-term in Vancouver? I think it can. I don't think this is JT Miller and Elias Pettesson, but obviously this is the biggest offseason of Pedersen's life and a huge offseason for the Canucks and figuring out, do they trust this guy to bounce back or are they going to move on from him? So I think that was what stood out most. And then the second thing for me was just about, will he be back? I think his quote was, of course I want to be back, but it's a process. And he talked about wanting to kind of digest the offseason a little bit. So, look, Rick Tocchet being a bit coy there about his future in Vancouver. Obviously asked about Quinn Hughes as well and how that decision plays into his future. He kind of talked more about Quinn and what he is as a leader. But Rick Tocchet wasn't just like, I didn't feel like he was chomping at the bit saying he wants to be in Vancouver. I felt like he was a little bit coy about that as well.
I don't know about that. I think what he's doing is just not like he's negotiating right now.
Yeah,
that's all he's doing. That's why he's being subtle because he's like should be Hall of Famer. He's an NHL legend, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, what the hell are you talking about, Kyle?" Like, just look at the history, and then you have to talk about his media history. And I know he hasn't been the best head coach ever, but he also has a Jack Adams too. He's an NHL guy. Who else has been in the league longer than this guy that's currently having a prominent spot as an executive or a head coach on the team? He's Mr. Hockey in a sense, So he's got some swagger to him, and I'm not saying it's a money thing. But I think he just, he's negotiating here, man. But I think he's staying.
I think he's staying too. And I've said that before.
Yeah, Ricky said that. Ricky said it best. Rick Tocchet seems like the type of guy, he wants to get the job done. And just on that note, I think Quinn Hughes is that type of guy too. I think that it's not over for, the Canucks need to have a good year next year. But even a couple rounds in the playoffs is enough for that guy to extend. Because he just needs to hear the city, see this. You know what I'm saying? I really think that. Get to round 2 next year, and Quinn Hughes will extend because he's the captain of a Canadian team, and we're talking about legacy, and I think that guy cares about legacy. I do. Yeah. I really do. He seems like a dog, I feel like he's on a mission. He doesn't want to abandon ship when he's given that responsibility of being a C for the Vancouver Canucks. And I know this season sucked, but Quinn Hughes didn't. He got better. Then he got hurt. But then he got better. And I'm excited to see what Quinn Hughes does next year because I don't think he's going to trust Pedersen to have the greatest offseason or trust DeBrus to he's I'm going to do whatever it takes to help the team in the playoffs. I got to get better. We're only 6 points out of a playoff spot. If Quinn Hughes gets better, we're making the playoffs. I'm sorry. He's just that good. But just going back to do you want to rebuttal off that? Because I got something to say about Tocchet, but do you want to say something there?
Yeah, I'll just say quickly. I mean, we all tie reasons into, why the season didn't work out. And I saw a comment from, I think it was Adam Splitting Science. He's saying, the biggest issue we had this season was finishing games, turn half those OTLs into wins, and we were in. Look, you could argue another turning point was, what if Quinn Hughes was healthy over the Canucks' final 10 games? I mean, look, they lose to the Blue Jackets in a shootout. That's a tough one. They lose to the Kraken 5-0. But, if they pick up, points in those games, whether it's let's say they win those games, they have 3 extra points. They're right in the thick of the race. And then maybe if Quinn Hughes is healthy, they beat the Golden Knights on the 2 games where, they were already clinched and not playing as hard. Maybe they don't let the Wild creep back into that game. Look, maybe if Quinn Hughes was healthy, they just pick up those points at the end of the season, even if they didn't deserve to, because he was that damn good for the first 50 games. They probably could have gotten a couple more goals and a couple more points to kind of pull them into the playoffs. Maybe.
Speaking of being good, man, look at this comment, man. Again, we're talking about Tocchet. We're talking about the press conferences now. It's been the longest episode of Locked On Canucks history. Thanks for being with us. Hit the like button. Just it's been a crazy season. Okay, how can we not do an hour-long special here? Jay saying, what players in the league would play good with Tocchet's coaching style? Trevor, I don't know if you've heard about a player called Quinn Hughes. Real talk. Heaver Sherwood. Pius Suter having career years under, Rick Tocchet. Bro, you know what I'm saying? Bro, if Quinn Hughes is healthy, this team makes the playoffs. If Demko is healthy, this team makes the playoffs. If Pettesson is not a shell of himself, this team makes the playoffs. It's the truth. And again, just to preface, like I hate putting a lot of blame on one player, but it's okay to do so in this case. And you could do it in two with Miller and Pettesson, but Pettersson's still here, and they just need this guy to be more of a Canuck and not think about doing it his way or just being emotional. Just do whatever it takes to be the best version of you for the Canucks, and don't take things personal, man. I know the fact that 50-yard statement, like pretty much saying like, okay, here's what we want you to do in the offseason. And Pettersson's like, yo, this is what I want to do. And Tocchett's like pretty much saying right there that, okay, let's meet in the middle. And I feel like he said what he said because maybe Pettesson, after hearing what the Canucks want him to do and how they can meet him in the middle, Pettesson maybe would have been like, actually, I think I'm going to stay an extra couple weeks in Sweden. Like, but what are you doing? Just be a team player. That's all it is. Just be a team player. Be a leader. What did Tocchet also say? Pettersson's a little shy. I don't know. Pettersson's a little shy. I want to be more of a leader. Like, Tocchet's so emotional. He says he just throws a bunch of stuff on this thing. Then you got to, assumingly so, put the pieces together, which is wrong. But yo, bro, what's he saying? Yo, Pettesson, you got to be more of a team guy. I know you're the guy. I know you're that guy, right? You're Elias Pettesson. Phenom, right? Boom, bam. But yo, you need to be more of a team guy starting now. Because yeah, like who knows what happened between Miller and Pettersson. But they're both men. And I swear to you, if like one of those guys was able to put the team first and like do it well and lead well, that situation might have been fixed. But both these guys failed the team. Both these guys they got too emotional and couldn't think. Yeah. Anyways, Trevor, I'm getting emotional, man.
It was an emotional season, and again, we're Kyle. You mentioned it a couple minutes ago, but we're blessed to be able to do this here on Locked On Canucks, getting to talk to you, my brother, and getting to talk to the people as well. So let's give it to the people for a few comments before we wrap up here on Locked On Canucks. Just want to show the love to you, buddy. I mean, Hangia saying Begsy and Bowen, the best duo on YouTube. Some people all team Kyle saying, Kyle, we missed you dearly. Supersonic saying Kyle is back. Mel Vaughn saying, I can't get Locked On Canucks without Kyle. So Kyle, I mean, for better or for worse, you are a part of the Vancouver Canucks here in Vancouver. Part of people talking about the team, giving their takes on the team. And, man, oh man, I missed you, and the people clearly missed you here on Locked On Canucks.
I know what you're trying to do here, man. Psychological warfare, but yeah, I'm gonna be Rick talking about it, man. We'll talk about the process. All in all, though, jokes aside, one love. Obviously, I know it's all love here. Like we're not media, we're emotional, we're just fans, right? So obviously we connect and do our thing. And I do want to apologize for taking like 2.5 weeks off or 3 weeks off. And like now in this dispute, who knows what's gonna happen on Monday, right? Who knows Trevor's already working on a new co-host. Like there's things happening behind it, like this things things that the people don't understand. But at the end of the day, I'm always here. I'm always here at Kyle Bowen, KYLEBHAWAN. Just go there. I'm always there. I'm always there. And I'm always grateful for my neighbors, man. And I know everyone doesn't live in Vancouver or Surrey or Abbotsford or Langley or the Lower Mainland who watches the show. But if we're Canucks fans, we're neighbors. We're neighbors. And like I always say it, and I said it earlier today, like I live the dream, and I truly appreciate all the listeners and all the love and everyone missing me. And I'm sorry that I had to pull what I had to pull. I'm also sorry that like even some of the promises I made in September and October with like post-game show, new post-game show style, the blog, the shirts and all this stuff. But things just started happening. I started writing a children's book, working on a couple more podcasts. Like everything just started happening all at once and wasn't able to be a true pro. So I want to apologize for that. And the last 3 weeks taught me a lot. And that's why I had to make the decision, man. Like, and yeah, that's an emotional one. It's an emotional one. But yeah, you know what, Trevor? If you have to go because you got a family, I'll stick around with the people, man. Okay, let's just go there. I want to read some comments, talk more about the press conference, man, because I don't want to let go, man.
That's all right, buddy. I got a few more minutes for you and the people, man. But
okay,
I will get out of here in a few minutes. But let's give it to the people here on Locked On Canucks. So some interesting comments here about offer sheets. I'm going to go to the serious one first. Still think the Canucks should offer sheet Luke Hughes this offseason, and it's something that we haven't really talked about. But Luke Hughes, he's statistically improved a little bit based on last season. He is an unrestricted free agent. I'd say part of the problem with this restricted. I say unrestricted. Yeah, restricted free agent. Part of the problem with this is that the Canucks don't own their third round pick. That has been traded away. So they have to reacquire that pick because, Luke Hughes, for that compensation of a first and a third round pick, that would pay him between, based on last year's number, between $4.5 and $6.8 million. That's probably where it lands for Luke Hughes. Up to a second round pick, you're only signing for about $4.5 million, the Phil Brober contract. Luke Hughes is worth more than that. So, I mean, I like thinking about it, but the Canucks would have to reacquire their third round pick if they were going to pull that off.
Yeah, you're just I don't know what you're drinking in your beer, man. I don't know if, again, like I said, you need therapy. I'm happy you have Mel Robbins, you have Deepak Chopra, but there's no way we're getting Luke Hughes, man. There's no way. But I will say this: want me to throw something at you, Trevor?
But I'll say this quickly. I don't think we're getting Luke Hughes, but if we had the third, maybe the Canucks would sign the offer sheet, right? I think Luke Hughes could be interested in that.
I think Jack Hughes could be interesting. Like, you want to keep Quinn forever? Like, think about this, okay? I know. Okay, I've thought about this again. I was deep in the waters the last couple of weeks. Okay, so let's say the Devils, led by Jacob Markstrom and good defense, get to like the third round of the NHL playoffs this year somehow, some way, and it's like that's without Jack Hughes, and Jack Hughes has been hurt multiple times now. You know what I'm saying? And the salary cap is going up, and Jack Hughes, he's probably going to need a contract in like 6 years, right? 5 years. I'm going crazy here. But what if it's like Pettesson, Tom Melander, whatever for Jack Hughes? Because that keeps Quinn Hughes around too. What if it's Pettesson, Willander, first round pick? I know it's a lot, but Pettersson's value is so low right now that some people may view him as a salary dump because you don't know what you're going to get. And look at his attitude, man. You don't think the rest of the league is watching how this guy presents himself? Honestly, like, talk is calling. Like, he needs this $11.6 million guy who's wearing an A on his chest. He needs him to be a better leader at 26 years old. You think this guy has any value? He does, but not a lot. So is there a world where it's like, the Devils do great without Jack Hughes, and they're like, you know what? He's a smaller player. What is he? 5'2", 5'4", 5'8", 5'9", 5 foot. Okay. So it's like, let's get this guy out. There you go, Trevor. That's where my mind is going.
Oh man. And I do like to see our commenters talking about ways to already improve the Vancouver Canucks for next season. A comment here about trading Pettesson in a first for Trevor Zegras and Mason McTavish. Oh man. Let's see. We're already getting deep down the conspiracy rabbit hole. But this stood out to me too. And I think this is a good reminder about, things have been bad in Vancouver, but they've also been bad in a lot of places in the red, white, north up here in Canada. Mike Lavelle in the comments saying, we are the number one team in Canada since 2006, 10th overall in the NHL. And look, the Canucks have, and that's a crazy stat because the Canucks have missed the playoffs in 8 of the last 10 seasons. And somehow they're number one in Canada since 06. But the Ottawa Senators just making it back in for the first time in 8 years. The Oilers missed for 10 years straight. The Flames have never been more than maybe, except for that one season. But, maybe it's leaving out too that, Winnipeg probably has a better points percentage as well. But
what the hell are we doing here? That's like this is like comparing moldy bananas, moldy organic bananas to moldy junior chickens. Who cares? The Canucks have also won 3 playoff rounds since 2011. So suck on that. Like, we suck. I'm sorry. We got to get better. Like, until you start stacking up consecutive playoff seasons, then you kind of like get, you're a different tier of team. But right now, we're just not good enough. And it's a damn shame that, again, me and Trevor are not sharing a hot dog tomorrow, man. Because in this economy, like, we'd have to share the hot dog. But there's no playoff game, so why are we going to eat some hot dogs? We don't deserve no hot dogs.
Yeah. If you want to look for the Canadian teams in misery, I always like taking a step back because things are bad in Vancouver. But, sports is tough, man. I mean, there's 32 teams in the NHL. A lot of fan bases do suffer in some way, shape, or form. Since 2011, I mean, Winnipeg, Montreal, the Oilers, and the Ottawa Senators have all at least made the conference finals. Edmonton and Montreal have gone to the Stanley Cup finals. It's just Calgary and Toronto, the only other teams that haven't made it, to the conference finals since 2011, aside from the Vancouver Canucks here in Canada.
Trevor, I'm happy that you have a family and this is your outlook on life, and you get to hug your kids because you're just super happy and optimistic and hippy dippy because the future needs more love. But right now, like, it's not helping, bro. It's not helping, bro. Unless you got solutions instead of, again, I need solutions, bro. I don't need those stats, man. Hippy dippy stuff, man. I love you though, but this is it, man. This is it. Okay, so again, last episode with Begsy and I. Trevor's balding. I gotta leave him. I'm too negative. Look what I just did there, man. I poo-pooed all over your point. Like, you're a happy guy, and I was like, don't be happy, Trevor. This is why you need me not in your life. And even though I'm sad to leave, I'm happy to leave because I know I'm protecting your family, because I don't want you to bald. I know what it's like. You don't know what it's like having your girlfriend rub the top of your head and be like, I could get used to this. Okay. Have you had that happen to you, Trevor? Exactly. I don't want that to happen to you because as a man, it's kind of weird. And I want you to be around people that uplift you. So I know you already got your co-host in mind, and I know people have been giving you a hard time every now and then too, because people like you and I together because we're brothers. But I know who you have on Monday is a brother to you too, and that's what it's all about. Like being family and just being fans. And yeah, so Trevor, I love you, man. Thanks for everything.
Yeah, again, always going to bring you here on Locked On Canucks, Kyle, with or without you. I love to have you here. What's the old Nicolas Cage line? I hate to see you go, but I love to see you leave. And I'll have to figure out the rest on Monday. Yep. Shout out to Nicolas Cage there.
Wow.
Let's end on a little, again, losing Kyle on Locked On. Worse than the Canucks losing JT Miller. Oh, man. Tough times here, but let's end it on a little bit of positivity. I mean, look, the sun is shining. Summer's ahead. Warmer days are ahead. I think that's a little bit of solace here. We're going to have you covered here on Locked On Canucks. But Han Gia saying, can't wait for October. Smirky McSir saying it's going to be an awesome training camp. That's a long times away, but enjoy the sunshine. Well, we got you covered here for some entertainment, some fun here on Locked On Canucks.
No, I want to stay. You leave, I'm going to stay. Because, let me have some time with the people. I just want to stay and read some comments, man. Because the season, the Canucks aren't extending the season for the fans, even though we deserve that. But I'll extend it for the fans because I want to read some comments. And let's just talk about the Canucks, because a lot went on today, okay? So, Begsy, I love you. I will see you again. Invite me over for Christmas. You never made me meatloaf yet, right? You never did that yet. Maybe a reason why I'm leaving, too, because, we became colleagues and not friends. But, we don't have to open up that door. I'll just take the blame because I'm a good leader, okay, Trevor? It's my fault, not you. You're balding. I'm balding. Cheers. Love you, man.
One love to you, Kyle. One love to you. Listen here on Locked On Canucks.
Okay, I'm sticking around because, again, they don't like us doing this. This is an hour and a half show. Maybe, who knows? I might be here for not 9 hours, okay? But I do want to talk more about the Canucks because we barely got to it, man. The whole press conference, man. How can we not talk about the specifics about Quinn Hughes and Brock Boeser and even Thatcher Demko, like what he said today? And maybe we'll start there. Thatcher Demko, he's pretty much saying he wants to be a Canuck for life. And I don't think he's trying to, I don't think he's media trained, and that's why he's saying that. I don't think he's trying to avoid the noise and make more of a story happen going into September, where he'll have 1 year left on his contract, and he's Thatcher Demko, but the Canucks have a guy who signed for 5 years and kind of was chosen to be the next guy in front of him. I feel like what we got from Thatcher Demko was, this could work for our next season and for the long term. Because Demko seems like a cerebral guy, a smart guy. He understands his body too. And he's like, you know what? At my best, and I still think I can be the best. That's why I kind of want him on the team too, because he kind of says that too. I believe in him. He's just a dog. He's a dog. At my best, if I'm healthy and if I'm only playing 45 games a year, that gives me a better chance of being healthy long term. I'm still a dog and I can help a team win a Stanley Cup. And I think if there's a scenario where this team, and we got Trevor out of the program, the darkest guy in the program. Let's get positive now. If this team has the best goaltending duo in hockey next year with Kevin Lankinen and Thatcher Demko, it's not too far off to say that. If that happens again, the Canucks make the playoffs. They're a better team. And now they don't got the drama between Pettesson and Miller too. Maybe the early winning actually works and creates bonds, right? Creates togetherness. And it's easier to do that again if Demko and Lankinen are on the same page. There's no ego, and they're playing their game. And if Demko's healthy, and maybe they establish that for the long term, and they kind of need to maybe do that because who's next? Is it Talapio being a backup and playing 25 or 30 games for Lankinen? Is it Shilovs? Like, I don't know if these guys give up about Shilovs, to be honest, the way they treated him this year. Right? So maybe Demko and Lankinen are a long-term duo for like the next 4 to 5 years. And by the sounds of it, Demko really wants to stay. And maybe, just maybe, he's not getting paid $8 million a year or $7 million a year. Maybe, just maybe, because again, he's a smart guy. Like, he knows teams can't be spending like $12 to $15 million on goaltending. Right? Maybe he takes a little bit less and makes it work because there's some unfinished business with Demko being a Canuck. And some dogs have it different. Like, some guys have it different. Like, we talk about Hughes being a gangster, that guy. Sinister. A legacy. They believe in legacy, right? Demko bringing up his draft position, or his draft, like being a draftee of the Canucks. Like, he loves the Canucks. So maybe he has a really good season. Next season he extends, or maybe just even this summer, the Canucks and him are like, yo, let's lock you up for the next 5 years at like $6 million. And yeah, if he gets hurt, long-term injured reserve. And that hurts for Francesco Aquilini, but you think I really care about Aquilini right now? I don't think so. Anyways, I really loved what Demko said. And again, the work ethic, Demko's perseverance, his steadiness, his concentration, like, they need more of that from their top guys in that room. So, again, go back to the press conference. Thatcher Demko, the Canucks missed Thatcher Demko this season. If Demko's healthy, the Canucks make the playoffs. 100%. 100%. Oh, but the Canucks got good goaltending with Kevin Lankinen. No, I get it. But there's a difference. You win more with a healthy Thatcher Demko, and then Lankinen is healthy. Like, he's not tired because he broke down. Speaking of breaking down, another great quote, and this is why Quinn Hughes is just an unbelievable leader. The best leader in this organization. A better leader than Jim Rutherford, a better leader than Rick Tocchet, a better leader than Patrick Allvin, right? He has the opportunity to say more about Pettesson. I felt like Pettesson was getting slapped around during the early part of this press conference from Rick Tocchet, in a sense. And Quinn Hughes just, saying he's got full support for this guy. He believes in Elias Pettesson, right? Not taking the bait. He's also saying that he's excited to prepare himself to be better and healthier through a full 82-game season and the Olympics, right? Like, he already knows that he's preparing for a similar season when it comes to games played from September to April, regardless if you make the playoffs or not. Because again, the Olympics, like, he's preparing himself, and he seems excited to build his body in a way where it's like indestructible. Because I think that's the next step for Quinn Hughes, right? Like, even look at the playoffs last year. Quinn Hughes wins the Norris, gets into the playoffs and gets hurt in the playoffs, gets injured. And if he's at his peak powers, we probably beat the Oilers too. But he gets hurt. And then this season has to do the most. Obviously, I'm surprised this guy's back didn't break, right? But he gets injured around like game 60 or whatever. And like, he still played great in some games, but he was just not good towards the end. Like, not Quinn Hughes-esque, right? And now he's preparing himself to like build this Avengers-esque type human being specimen that also is, again, Quinn Hughes and really, really good at hockey. And that tells me that this guy's going to be even better next season. Again, we're talking about a guy that's like in not just like Brian Leach territory, and not just like in Bork territory, or not just like in Cale Makar territory. He's like in Bobby Orr territory. And I've said this before. We bring up the name Scott Niedermayer too. Bro, this is kind of crazy, but I believe in this guy. I've watched a lot of sports in my life, okay? I believe in this guy. There might be a little Nick Lidstrom and Quinn Hughes. Like, I think that guy is that good, and that's serious. Anyways, let's get to your comments. Hangia saying, don't be dozing on Quinn Hughes, people. 100%. 100%. The guy could be better. Look at this comment from Roland. Okay, let Brock Besser walk. I feel as if we didn't like hear anything new from Brock Besser when it came to like his thoughts about his scenario. Right, we got that quote like last week from an Ian McIntyre article, and it summed it up. Like, it's in his agent's hands, but there's a good chance. When I see a good chance, it's like a 51% chance that he's not coming back. That's just the way it is. That's just life. Even though Vancouver will always be home for Brock Besser, Besser just seems like a normal dude, a real dude, not just a hockey player. Thanks for everything he had done. But I'm not going to be completely upset that he leaves. Now, they better have a plan to replace him, or they give Lekkermacki the right plan and the right belief that he could be the quote-unquote replacement ASAP. But, again, I'm not going to be super emotional if he leaves. I know it sucks because we could have traded him at the deadline. Maybe he leaves and we keep Suter, and I can get the rationale and walk away with it. Not completely angry because, again, just a bad hockey team not taking advantage of the rental market it's chaotic to me. But at the end of the day, Besser with him on the team, this team never made the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? They made the fake playoffs during the bubble based on points percentage, and then they like made the playoffs once last year, and it was a great time, the funnest time of his life playing the game. Boom, bam, I get it. But for me, I've been around the block. Like, I need more legacy. I need more moments like that. I need years and years and years of winning. Like, F the individual stats, okay? It's just the truth. And to be honest, like, look at the Canucks statistical records, like, compare them to like the best of the best amongst other franchises. And it's like, yo, I don't care if you're like the 8th highest goal scorer on the team. You know what I'm saying? I want to win. I attach myself to like the winners. It is what it is. If Besser leaves, I'm not convinced that we're like a far worse hockey team than being a 90-point team. Like, again, the injuries, the goaltending, Pettesson being so bad. Like, yo, there's a lot of room for this team to improve with or without Brock Besser. Oh, man. Shout out to the people of Locked On Canucks, man. Bob Luger saying Brock Besser will sign a sweetheart deal to stay. There you go. You never know. What's a sweetheart deal? Is it that 5-year, $40 million deal? Maybe. I think so. Man, oh man. How much is it going to take for me to stay, though, man? It's not about the money, man. It's about the time, bro. Last time I checked, time is money. And what am I supposed to do here, man? These are the things I think about. I'm getting emotional here. Again, an hour and a half show. We're not allowed to do this. We're probably going to get in trouble for this. I'm so sorry. It's not about breaking the rules because I love everyone at the Locked On Podcast Network. They do it the right way because, they fully support and they're just nice people. Nice people deserve the best of things. And, yeah, I know 90 minutes is way too long. This is 3 episodes worth into one, but I'm not a man of the organization. I'm the man of the people. The neighbors. You and you and you and you and you and you. And this year's been an emotional one. I've been all over the place. This year was the most stressful year of watching a sports team in my life, right? And I'm not gonna go out here and say, oh, this is such hard work. Watching 10 hours of hockey a week or 12 hours of hockey a week, and the way I gotta do it because we got a podcast and a microphone. Like, you don't understand the stresses and the notes and the mental. Dude, it's none of that. It's just, dude, we all watch it the same way. Okay, it's sports. Okay, what do we do here? We're not making art here. We're talking about other people doing things. Okay? And you and you and you and you are doing the same thing that I'm doing, and that's being a Canucks fan and living through it. And you can't tell me that outside the Mark Messier year that we haven't had it this bad. Right? Based on finally doing it last year. And that's, giving us relevancy, making it cool to be a Canuck after years and years and years and years and years and years of being betting and boring and stupid and just stupid. And so bad. After years of that, we got last year, we got teased, and then we got a year of the same shit. And I'll always say this. I'm so sick and tired. So sick and tired of whether it be talking behind a microphone or just being with the friends and talking about other things rather than talking about that shift that Niels Höglander had in the 5-minute mark of the third period. and how it shifted the game, or how that was really noticeable, and how I liked how he took the puck from the neutral zone into the offensive zone with some force and with some directness, and I think he's getting better. Like, I like talking hockey like that. But all this assumption, all this like, oh, what if, and Pettesson and Miller, and oh, they got to trade this guy and that guy, and how are we going to get a second line center, and all. I hate that shit, yo. And it's part of the game. I understand it's part of the process, but this process has been a 10-year thing. So I got to think about myself. I got to think about my hair, and I got to think about Trevor Beggs' head as well, his hair. He's always had good head, good head of hair. And now that he's balding, I have to understand that, like, I can't do this for myself. And as much as I love you and you and you and you and you, I love Trevor more. He's been a friend for life. He's been definitely one of my best friends for life. Always been a hippie in my life, the one that I need, the groovy and, just the groovy, personal, careful guy that you need in your life, your homie. He's one of the first guys I told that I found the love of my life. He's just that guy, one of the best men. So if he's losing hair because he's hanging out with me, I can't hang out with you. Now, maybe this is a decision I made, or maybe this is a decision he made. Who knows? Right? We'll let TMZ talk about that. Okay. But I may not be here, but I'll always be here. And I'll always be in the Discord too. Okay, so join the Discord. Canucks fans for life. I'm not going. Yeah. Let me know in the comments if you think it's a good decision to leave the show because I want Trevor to keep his hair. And don't think with your heart or your mind. Think about Trevor's family. Okay. Hit the like button. One love. What a season. What a long season. We probably skipped over a lot about that press conference and whatnot, but yeah. Thank you, Kiefer Sherwood. Thank you, Pius Suter. And yeah. One love. One love to the Locked On Podcast Network. Have a good morning, a good afternoon, a good night. I don't know when you listen to this, but I truly appreciate it, man. I truly do.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.